ஒரு சின்ன சம்பவம். 2010 புக் ஃபேர் நடக்கக்கூடிய சமயம். ஒரு 10 புத்தகங்களுக்கான தயாரிப்பு வேலைகள் வம்சியில் நடந்துகிட்டு இருக்குது. அந்த நேரத்தில் அவங்க வீட்டில் இருக்கேன் நான். புத்தகங்களை வந்து அச்சுக்கு அனுப்புனா தான் புக் ஃபேருக்கு வர முடியும். இன்னும் ஒரு 10 நாள் தான் புக் ஃபேர் ஆரம்பிக்க இருக்குது. அந்த சூழ்நிலை ஒரு பதட்டமான சூழ்நிலை இருக்கிறாங்க. ஒரு பக்கம் இங்கேருந்து எல்லாத்தையுமே தயார் பண்ணி ஆகணும். இன்னொரு பக்கம் ப்ரெஸ்ஸுக்கு அனுப்புறதுக்கு அங்கே பணம் வேணும். பணம் ஒரு லட்சக்கணக்கான பணம், ஒரு 1.5 லட்சம் 2 லட்சம் பணம் வேணும். பணத்தை தயார் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காங்க. ஒரு பக்கம் ரொம்ப ஒரு நெருக்கடியான சூழல் இது. அந்த நேரத்தில் பாபா ஃபோனில் பேசியிருக்காரு ஒரு நண்பர்கிட்ட. அங்கே ஒரு ஃபோனில் ஒரு பதட்டமான சூழ்நிலை, வீட்லேயும் ஒரு பதட்டமான சூழ்நிலை. லோன் தர்றதுக்காக ஒரு ஆஃபீஸர் வந்திருக்காரு. அவர் வெளியில் உட்காந்துருக்காரு. பாபா ஃபுல்லாக ஃபோனில் பேசியிருக்காரு. ஒரு ஆள் ஒரு டம்ளர் எடுத்துகிட்டு வர்றார். நல்லா அவர் முகத்தில் அவர் வரும்போதே அவருக்கு முன்னாடி சாராயநாத்தம் வருது. அவர் வர்றது பின்னாடி அவருக்கு முன்னாடி சாராயநாத்தம் வருது. நான் என்ன நினைக்கிறேன்னா, இவர் ஏதோ ஆக போகுது இங்கே. ஏன்னா ஏற்கனவே உள்ளுக்குள்ள ஒரு பாட்டமான சூழல் இருக்குது. இதோட சேர்த்து ஒரு சாராயம் அடித்த ஒரு ஆளுக்கு ஒரு டம்ளர் எடுத்து வர்றான். அவர் என்ன கேட்க போறாரு, இவர் என்ன சொல்ல போறாரு அப்படின்னு எனக்கு நான் அந்த சூழலை ஒரு பதட்டத்தோடு எதிர்கொள்றதுக்கு நான் தயாராகிட்டு இருக்கேன். ஆனால் அவர் வந்த உடனே உள்ள நுழையும் போதே பவானே அப்படின்னு வந்தார். நான் இவர் தடுக்கலாமா நான் முயற்சி பண்ணுறேன். அவர் பாபா வாங்க அப்படின்னு அவர் குரல் கொடுத்துட்டார். வந்த உடனே எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் குழம்பு வேணும் அப்படின்னார். இவருக்கு தேவைப்படுறது இவர் பக்கம் லோனுக்கு கையெழுத்து வாங்குறதுக்கு வந்திருக்காரு. இன்னொரு பக்கம் ஒரு பணத்துக்கு முயற்சி பண்ணியிருக்காரு. வீட்டிலே மொத்தம் ஒரு பாட்டமான சூழ்நிலை. ஆனால் இவரை வந்த ஆளை ஒரு சரியாக ரிசீவ் பண்ணி அக்கா அவருக்கு குழம்பு கொடுங்கன்னு சொல்லி கொடுத்துட்டு அனுப்பி வச்சுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் மீண்டும் தன்னுடைய இதை அவர் பேச்சை தொடர்றாரு. ஆக எந்த ஒரு மனுஷனையும் ஒரு சகஜீவியாக மட்டும் இல்லை, அவனுடைய பார்வையில் அவனுடைய இது இருக்கு இல்லையா, அவனுடைய முறை, அவனுடைய நிலை, அவனுடைய நிலையிலிருந்து பார்க்கணும். பார்க்கும்போது மட்டும்தான் நம்ம ஒரு முழுமையான மனுஷனாக மாற முடியும். எப்பவும் டென்ஷன் அலைஞ்சிட்டே இருக்கக்கூடிய அப்படியான ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் வாழ்ந்துட்டு இருக்கிறோம். அதாவது மனிதர்கள் தனித்தனியாக ஒரு பிரித்து கூறுபடக்கூடிய ஒரு தன்மையில தான் இப்போ இருந்துட்டு இருக்கு. பெரும்பாலும் எல்லாமே வணிகமாகிட்டு இருக்கு. கல்வி, மருத்துவம், அரசியல் எல்லாமே வணிகமாக மாறிட்டே இருக்கக்கூடிய சூழ்நிலையில் மனிதனை மீண்டும் மனிதனாக மாற்றுவதற்குரிய ஒரு அது காரியம் யாரும் செய்ய முடியும், இலக்கியம் தான் செய்ய முடியும். அதுக்குரிய முயற்சியாக தான் இந்த நூல் இருக்குது. எல்லா மனிதனையும் சகஜீவி ஒரு முழு மனிதனாகவும் அல்லது அவனுடைய சூழ்நிலைக்கு பின்னாடி புரியக்கூடிய ஒரு மனிதனாகவும் நான் பார்க்கக்கூடிய ஒரு காலகட்டத்தில் நாம் இருந்துட்டு இருக்கிறோம். அதை வலியுறுத்தக்கூடிய ஒரு விஷயமாக தான் இந்த நூல் இருக்குது. இன்றைக்கு மீண்டும் மீண்டும் இப்படியான தேவைகள் அதிகரிச்சுக்கிட்டு இருக்குது. மனிதனிட்ட மனிதத்துவத்தை வலியுறுத்தக்கூடிய ஒரு சூழல் மீண்டும் மீண்டும் தேவைப்பட்டுகிட்டே இருக்குது. அதை செய்யக்கூடிய நூலை அவர் பல தமிழ் மட்டுமல்லாமல் தமிழில் அதிகபட்சம் ஒரு 500 வாசகர்கள் தான். அல்லது நல்ல ஒரு எழுத்தாளனுக்கே ஒரு 10,000 வாசகர்கள் தான். ஆனால் இன்னைக்கு ஆங்கிலத்திலையும் ஹிந்தியிலையும் வேறு மொழிகளையும் போகும்போது என்னுடைய தன்மை மிகவும் விரிகிறது. அந்த வகையில் மிகவும் சந்தோஷமான ஒரு சூழலில் இந்த பங்கெடுத்து வாய்ப்படுத்துவதற்கு நன்றி கூறி முடித்துக்கொள்கிறேன். வணக்கம்.
Thank you. And JP, one day I'll get the hang of this. Okay. JP, I believe you'll want to say a few words in English, yeah?
Honored guests in the dais, friends of Bawa and friends of Kovadis. First of all, I would like to thank Bawa Shailaja for giving me a very great honor, not only to organize this program, but also to be part of this program, to say a few words. Honestly, I am very nervous, although I am used to speaking, but speaking to the audience like this and in a function like this is not appropriate for me, because I am not a good reader. So I don't think I am the right person to speak in such a meeting. On the other hand, I think I am one of the most fitting person to speak in such a meeting, as Baba's wife Shailaja insisted, for the reason Baba and I grew up together for many, many years. And to see Baba reaching peaks like this, what else could be a privilege for a friend? So I'm greatly privileged. I think it's very appropriate that Covadis today is hosting this program. Behind building up this whole Covadis, this whole movement of interfaith dialogue, Baba is one person who has been from the beginning helping, supporting. Our bishop, dear bishop, who is seated here, who was then the treasurer of our church, was almost the first person to say that let's buy this piece of land when there were no funds and there were a lot of talks. If at all we will be able to buy this land, he said without hesitating, let's buy this land. And we also have Mr. Richard Bhaskaran seated here, who was the then secretary, and people like them, contributed to start off this Covadis. It's actually Baba and me who went to the landowner as young as we were, 10, 12 years back, to one of the rich and VIP of this town. Just without any funds, we went and asked, we need this land for this purpose. And he gratefully gave this. So I just would like to acknowledge Baba for being behind this whole movement. Also in creating the hut, which has become the soul of Covadis, where many people come and meditate and feel the presence of God. I told you that I'm not a good reader. Although I am not a good reader, Baba's friendship gave me a very big privilege of knowing all stalwart writers of Tamil. I almost know all the important writers in Tamil without reading any of their books. And with the knowledge of their writings, whenever or soon after he has read a book, because he doesn't go to bed without reading at least a page or two or a book. Sometimes he starts a book and finishes in the morning, and no matter what time of the day or night it is, he would call me and share it. So whatever he has experienced, I know it. Actually, I want to speak few words about this book. And this book is from 19 DM Sarum. That's nothing but his home address. 19 Danish Mission Sharon. The whole history and culture behind his livelihood. I think we who farm the livelihood in Sharon feel thankful to Baba for recording and acknowledging, because whatever he has written, whether it's a short story, poem, prose, and about anybody, it all comes from this Sharon, which is in the one of the 9 roads of Tiruvannamalai. And most of what he has experienced in his childhood has been recorded. And although I have not read, as I continue to say, but interestingly, most of the personalities he talks about in his book, when he was meeting them, actually I was the third person who was very much part of the discussion. So I was part of meeting great personalities like Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, whether it's Bishop Gideon and few more who found in this book. And it's so interesting for me. The discussion suddenly one day comes into put into words and printed in a booklet in Tamil. It's I always amazed the language, the power of his language, the perspectives Baba had. Although I was part of the discussion, I could not think or seen the things in the discussion the same way as he has done. And to put it in a writing in such a way, it becomes a universal truth. It's really amazing. And then now it's even further been translated into English. And already my friend Popu said some parts of his writings has been translated in some other national and international languages. But when it is translated into English, my friend Baba, from a local Tiruvannamalai person, now reaching or becoming a universal figure. And I am greatly proud of my friend becoming an universal person. And today, this is a second translated book. I would like to say that some of his short story writings has already been translated. And now it's this prose writings of big personalities. And I wish you all buy this. And I'm really impressed. Few portions I had to read because I had to speak. I'm not going to read out again. And then I admired the command of English that Ram Gopal, who translated this. So I think we need to applaud him, although he's not here present, for bringing my friend's Baba Tamil into English. I remember once Baba and myself, before starting Covadis, some of my friends from Denmark were here. So we wanted to go and meet Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. And that day, there were about 400 people waiting to see or to have darshan of him when he was still alive, before he was departing his body. And we need to give our names. There were several number of people who gave the names to talk to him. And it was always his choice to choose whom you want to meet. And that day, it was our turn. He invited all the four of us. And normally he gives that kind of close talks to 10, 20, 30 people, I was told. But that day, 45 minutes were totally dedicated to us. That was because of already the friendship which Baba and himself had when he was kind of wandering here as a wandering saint when he was living in the town. And what was mysterious till today was actually that was the time very recently Baba and Shailaja lost their only son that time in an accident. And Shailaja was totally depressed, couldn't come out of the house. And when it happened to the only son, to give away the only son, you know the feeling. So with that feeling, we met that day. And we all, of course, we introduced ourselves to Danish friends who have been theologians. Then he started to talk about Protestant theologians, and the Protestant priests could marry and the Roman Catholics could not marry. And the fact that he knew some of the people from our locality, from Saron, whom we did not consider big personalities. So that was a very big thing for us that day. Then Baba was sharing, Swami, what is that these days we are not able to meet you as we were able to do it some years back. You were everywhere and anybody can come closer to you, but these days we could not come. He said, yeah, sometimes my father keeps us together, sometimes we are apart. Then he said, see, we have lost our only dear son in an accident. Before he could even finish, he said, don't worry, your friend has 2 sons and you will have 2 children. And that's still a mystery because I never introduced that I was married and I never told him that I have 2 sons, which was true. And now Baba has 2 children. So that's still a mystery. And these are the things he writes. At one time, he also writes about Sandana Raj, who is one of the greatest artists who come from this town, comes from Danish mission school background. He's a Christian and belonged to our church. He's no more. And the person who constructed this and the painting exhibition is made by my colleague Peter Jairaj. It's his uncle. One day, again, Bava, myself, and some other Danish friends went to meet him. We met him frequently because when we know he was a giant and genius, and his art pieces are everywhere in this country, he was a national awardee and all, we went there. But he had actually, he was that time kind of settled in Tiruvannamalai for a while. Then he asked me, so pastor, you are a pastor. Okay. Have you been to churches? Yes. Did you ever go to Hindu temples? I said, yes, occasionally I go. What is the difference between a temple and a church? I couldn't answer him because I didn't follow him. I didn't know what he wanted from me. I said, I don't understand you. He said, to be inside, did you feel the difference anytime? I said, I still didn't get you. Then he told us, when you go to a church, you just observe, at least if you go next time. The moment you go, of course you go to meet God, you to pray and to take part in the liturgy, service and whatever. But more often, whenever you went inside, the next thing it comes to your mind is, when will I go out of this church? Consciously or unconsciously. And I didn't follow that. If you go to a temple, before you realize that you should get back, you would have spent already an hour. And he said, that's not due to religion, that's not due to God, but it's because of the architecture. The churches are not built in Indian architecture. Therefore,